You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
Repeat after me. I am not defined by my past trauma.
I am not defined by my past trauma.
I am not defined by the negativity that surrounds me.
I am not defined by the negativity that surrounds me.
Hi, honey. It's Mom. Your father and I were just thinking about you, so I figured I'd give you a call to see what's going on over there. For the most part, everything over here is going pretty good. You know, we actually had a few of the neighbors come over, and we had such a fun time playing this game. Basically, the idea is that you pick a card, and whoever picks the card is the judge. And everyone has to write down something that they think would make the person laugh. And it was just so funny because, as you know, we've been living on this block for over 20 years. And I have to say, our neighbors really know our sense of humor.
It's explicit. You could talk about whatever you
Awesome.
want. Yeah,
whatever the fuck you want.
Whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
Open conversation. Yeah, we'll make this. This is ours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. This is independent. You know, it's all in.
I like that.
It belongs to us. Nobody checks on us.
Right.
So Shea, I was one of the things I was wondering about, looking at your two bands, and as I mentioned to Mathew before, I've been particularly sensitive in noticing the kind of the presence of sound and soundtrack to create mood in the video work that you do. And one of the pieces I was wondering, as far as your work with music and over towards video, you have a lot of sounds, a lot of words, a lot of verses that you end up seeing floating over and seeing as that show up on the video work you do with Matt.
Yeah, actually, some of my lyrical references are direct references to some of Matt's movies, and sometimes things in like either of our lives. So definitely, it's like connected there, and like. Like I was saying before, like my process recording vocals for CRONIES and doing, soundtrack for Matt is similar because I like record vocals and bass for CRONIES. I run it by them. They let me know if it's good. And similarly, just trying to like fit the vibe with Matt's score and stuff like that. And then when I make, my solo stuff, like real Codington Factory stuff, like that's a lot of me just kind of doing my own thing. So that's a little different. But like, definitely my processes are the same. And, obviously there's influences in film, and, you see that a lot in like the samples that happen in some of the like music. And then it's like, some of it is like samples from films that me and Matt made. And then it works the other way around too. Cause like I have a score that I make for Matt's stuff, and it's like, it ends up being like sometimes like distorted or like very like guitar pedal driven or like sampler driven, like just stuff that I would do in CRONIES. So like, I guess it ends up just working together, to hopefully be like more unique in that way.
And in terms of like relationship to film, also Shea's stuff, I'm a personal fan, of course, of Shea's music. So I've kind of analyzed it in my own way. And I noticed that a lot of movies that Shea and I both like or that are inspired by, like that make us want to make the movies that we make or the movies that I make, he'll use samples from those movies in his music. Like there's a lot of uncut gems,
Tim and Eric's bedtime stories.
Yeah,
big fan of that.
even videos that we've made. Because Ken, I don't know if you know, but Shay and I have actually been friends since we were 8 years old.
I remember you mentioned you long time. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
we met in 4th grade at the lunch table.
Yeah, and we've been making videos together since probably around that time, or like a year after.
In 6th grade, my dad bought me like one of those like, you know, cameras that were like, they kind of looked like phones almost, but they had like the little like camera there. They're like flip video, and they had like the USB.
Yep.
And so we'd record with those. And
Yeah.
like we didn't have an editor at the time, so like we tried to like edit on the fly. Like if we wanted music in the movie, like we would put our iPhone speakers up and we'd press the YouTube play button and the record button at the same time, and then press stop.
Yep.
And then, you know what I mean, just keep going on the next shot. Like,
And if we wanted
so
to,
we were
like-
definitely desperate to make it work for a long time.
Right.
And then
If we-
Matt got an editor finally, and
Yeah.
then go ahead. Sorry, Matt.
No, I was going to say, in the same regard to the iPhone speakers up to the camera, like if we wanted to like cut, if we wanted to cut to black or something like that, we would like put our hand over the camera.
Yeah. Yep.
Because like we can't edit, you know. But yeah, so those old childhood videos, even Shay's taken sound bites from that stuff and put it in his music as well. And I'm always surprised to find, because Shay's very like, you know, Shay kind of works on the album and I know nothing about what's going on, and then it just gets released, and then I get to like check it out, and then all of a sudden I hear like young me's voice show up in the album all of a sudden. It's like there's like little like tidbits. I was just gonna say, there's like, it almost seems like you know, regardless of, you know, me being in it or not, there's just a bunch of tidbits of like Shay's past, you know, and life just kind of peppered in throughout the music, that it goes beyond just instrumental and vocal, you know.
I like that though, like when music adds like a wholesome like element to it. Like Cronies has like a lot of like clips from Goodfellas and like, you know, a lot of like mob movies and stuff like that, and, you know, horror movies, stuff like that, old like 70s flicks. And, you know, Jack, the drummer of our band, is like really into that stuff, and, you know, so like it kind of gives it like a, you know, like a vibe. It's like what you grew up with, and it's like what you're representing yourself as is like a similar.
Yeah, I like the editing process. I took my first like video film class, and it was like using like iPhone to help create film. And, you know, like I had the question, it was such like an art film school answer. I was like, I'm trying to have this black in the background. Like, everybody knows you just put your finger over the over the camera lens, and there's your black filler. I'm like, oh, it is as I thought. You just cover it up and
imagine doing that now, Matt, with your new Leica lenses, these vintage lenses, just like putting your whole hand over the glass.
Right. It would be experimental for sure. You know, maybe that'd be something interesting to try in the future. But yeah, and I also think it's interesting.
Matt,
Oh no, I was going to say, springboarding off of what we're talking about, I kind of found it interesting to think of how Shay's work individually and my work individually have kind of ping-ponged back and forth, and then we'll come together to work on individual things. But he's been doing score for our stuff since whatever, like 2013 or whenever we made our first movie. And I always notice that kind of the score that he'll make will resemble whatever current genre or interests or whatever it is, style of music that he's into at the time. So like if you go back to like 2017, when we made our short film called Megan that stars Shay, you can kind of hear that the score that he provided for that links up to the kind of music that he was making at the time of that short film. And then now, like with the most recent collab we did, which is Henry, his music is more noise rock based, more pedal based, you know, in his personal music. Thus, the movie Henry has a score that is like very pedal heavy and very noise rock influenced, because of like distortion amp sound almost. So it's interesting to kind of watch. Like I almost know what to expect in a way when I ask for a score, but I'm still surprised. But it's kind of interesting to see, or listen to the music that he has coming out, and knowing, oh, this is probably going to be what the score will sound like for the movies. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting.
I recently have been hired to do a couple of like soundtracks for different things. Like one's like a romantic comedy that needed just like kind of R&B type stuff.
Yeah.
And one is this other thing that I haven't actually done yet, but it's like, you know, I guess a bit more experimental, but not like in the way that, I try to be with Matt. Matt just kind of lets me kind of do my own thing. Or, I mean, he gives me like a mood to start with, and we make the movie together a lot, so I see what's going on. I kind of try to picture what's going to go in it later.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of it's just experimentation, just trying to figure out like what the best thing is. So it's not like always clear, but it's like, I feel like there's a like I feel this way about Cronies too, and I feel this way about the scores in Matt's movie when I'm making it. It's like there's like something in there already that needs to be chiseled out of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just like my approach, because like I know there's something that's going to fit best, and so I try to just go for that rather than just like go for like a vanity thing or go for something that like I would like best. But again, like Matt kind of lets me a little bit off the hook in terms of going for what I want, because it's kind of what he would want too.
Yeah. An incredible process.
What's the romantic comedy? I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah,
I heard that too, Matt. I heard that too, Matt.
X Game.
Oh, that.
That's a romantic comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Matt filmed and edited that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, because those episodes are done. But I forget. 'Cause to me, they're so out in the rear view, But yeah,
well, are they?
No, you're right. The most recent episode just came out. I think I try to put it in the rear view as much as I can when I'm done with something.
Are you done editing that though? Like
yeah.
finished?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
done. That was a 5. So Ken, that was I got hired. I got hired to do this like romantic comedy episodic series called X Game that's on YouTube, and the director was in Albany at first, and then he moved to Los Angeles, and he's like, "Sorry, Matt, like I wanted to go with you as the DP editor, but I'm in Los Angeles now," and like I was like in the winter I get horrible seasonal depression, so like I just wanted any excuse to leave, because it was like right around January at the time. And I was like, "Oh no, you're doing it in LA? I'll go. I'll fly out there and I'll do that." And I took like not a loss, but I pretty much like broke even shooting that just so I could hang out in LA for like 2 months. But it was a great experience, and the show, it's entertaining, and it was fun to work on for sure.
But you didn't fly, did you? You drove.
Yeah,
and you got horrible food poisoning halfway through it, and kept driving anyway.
Yeah,
we're just going off the rails.
No, no. Well, and the thing is, even if there's a project update where we can make sure it's shared here about where the status of things are.
Right. Yeah. No, I was gonna fly because I figured that would be cheaper, and then I had all the equipment that I needed, and it was just going to be so much to fly over to LA. And I think I always wanted to try driving across the country. So I kind of just took the opportunity to do one, like solo road voyage, go out to LA, make a thing. It's always been like a fantasy of mine to do. So that was interesting.
Yeah. There's a road here in Newport, Oregon. Actually just drove past it yesterday. It's on the coast, and it shows Boston, Mass on it, and it's like 3,325 miles. It's Route 20 that goes across the U.S. It starts over in Newport, Oregon, out to Boston. So,
oh wow,
you could take 20. It'll probably take about 2 weeks, and that wouldn't work for you. But anyways, right. It's just really cool. Matt, what about with Trusted Hands? You recently released it, starring Victoria Studo, and that came out. Just recently. What's going on with the film? Where do people find it? That type of thing.
Yeah, so a lot of directors like to withhold their short films for festival purposes.
I knew you were going to start saying that. I knew you were going to go.
I've been thinking about that a lot today, actually, because I was like, "Oh man,
me too.
Am I not making the right move here by releasing my movie?" Like I always release any short film I make immediately when it's done, and I release it just on my Vimeo, and I promote it on Instagram, and I'm like, everybody just go see it. Like I just want people to watch it so they can talk about it. And it's nice to get quick reactions. I like immediately, hearing what people have to say about the movie the minute it's done. But some directors like to, withhold the movie because there's certain festivals that want to premiere their movie exclusively and be the first to premiere it. So a lot of directors are secretive about their projects, and they'll let it sit and, let no one see it for 6 months or whatever it is, only to find out that 6 months later, Sundance, big surprise, said, we don't want your movie, because tens of thousands.
Big surprise.
Because tens of thousands of movies are submitted. So I never want to do that, especially because Trusted Hands came out, right? And like I have 2 other short films as well that are in the middle of, like, I haven't even started editing them yet, but like they're about to be. And Shea and I are going to work on a movie coming up too. And so I just feel like by the time Trusted Hands would be accepted into some festival, if it was, that was so exclusive about its premiere status and all that stuff, I'd be already moved on and finished with the next one. And I just want to be promoting that. So I figure whenever we work on a feature in the future, I'd probably maybe withhold that, or maybe just allow people to see it via like a private link or whatever. But in terms of the shorts, I just like to get them out there as soon as possible. And, there are plenty of festivals out there that are cool about you releasing online, because I think, that's kind of the generation that we're living in now, So, I think it's important to just release it as soon as you can, and then, let it get into whatever festivals exist that are into it. And because of that, because we released House to Herself and Henry that way, we got great opportunities to film movies with bigger budgets than we've ever had before, and that in a way allows us to then fund the next few movies. So I think it's important to get it out there as soon as possible. So that's what I did with Justin.
And I was just saying, I was observing some of the dynamic you see, and one of the things newer to seeing distribution films of how it's released, I find film to be such a labor of love, so intensive, and then it's how it gets out there. And as you explore, and it's like, I need people to see this thing. I'm over here doing this. Both of you guys are like, you gotta see the stuff. Same thing within music, right? Like you get people gotta hear that, and I found that in just seeing some of the things you promote and talk about, that there are significant films that still get attention because it wasn't like they're on a particular sequence. If you like Henry, you bring about Henry, I could like that film. And when she was talking about like the sound and some of the things adding terror to it, like it brought that right to my head. And Daddy's Wallet, which is like, in House to Herself, which is gorgeously shot in each of your films too. Maybe it is what I just wanted to ask too. Your films are held up, it could be Shea and others that are held up by subtle performances of folks that you have in there. I guess one of the strange question is, how do you get and find somebody who can handle this? It might be this type of like intense role. Maybe not a lot of talking, maybe a lot of like moving to the sound connected to face in, How
do we?
Yeah.
How do we find them?
I don't know. I think it's it's a casting thing for sure. Like I definitely can tell.
I think we just get lucky.
We do get lucky, but I also think that by an audition, I can tell pretty quickly that the actor is not in the same like headspace that Shea and I are in. I don't know how to explain it. I almost feel like through the audition, I can tell if it's the kind of person that I would want to collaborate with or like talk to or hang out with. And if they're that kind of person, then I feel like they're the right fit,
It's a good start.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, actor wise, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because like a lot of the actors now at this point are just, people within our own friend group, or, like Shea is going to act. He's going to be the lead in the new movie that we're going to make. And he's done one of ours before. And Alex is an old friend of ours.
So I think like Alex, Victoria, and I, and my girlfriend Diana, who is going to be in this movie with me coming up, like have all seen the movies that Matt likes, and we like them too. So we know what kind of vibe he wants and what he's going for, like, especially because we talk about it a lot, like, and I'm sure like Matt and Victoria like talk about it a lot when they're like making Trusted Hands, or when they were or when you guys like they have like another movie together too.
Yeah, Victoria's
they have 2 other movies together.
For the record, Victoria and I are we've been dating.
That wasn't clear.
We've been dating for the last year, and so now we have we have 2 more movies coming as well.
Yeah,
what I wanted to say about like sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Shea.
Well, what I wanted to say about like when it's not a friend or it's we'll usually go through backstage, and the last few times we've definitely gotten lucky, and people have like got, they've auditioned like quickly, and they're reliable, and they're, even they feel challenged though, even though they're good actors. Like Desi Stevens and like Dan Berkey are two like really talented actor/actresses that like audition almost immediately, and like we didn't really need to go through anybody else. But like Gloss, which is a movie we made like years ago, we went through about 30 people came to our apartment and like auditioned for this role, and like a lot of people weren't good, and a lot of people were pretty good and okay, but then only a few like really stood out to us, and that's who you see in the film is like Haley Berkeley, who's like really talented, like even says that she was challenged by Matt's role. So I think it like kind of goes both ways. I think actors want to work with us because we write challenging roles.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's like, I don't even know if I've ever had a situation yet where I feel like, oh man, like I really like both of these people for the house to herself role, or both of these people for the daddy's wallet role. Like it's always just one person that's so clearly right. And I don't know what that says, or, it must just say something about their acting ability, or what I'm picturing in my head. But sometimes it doesn't even matter what I'm picturing in my head, because for Daddy's Wallet, the main character was supposed to be like a middle-aged or like more like 40s, year old.
That's not what I pictured when I first read the script.
Really?
Yeah.
I was picturing.
I told you that though.
Oh right, yeah. I was picturing someone younger than Dan, and then when I saw Dan, though, I immediately was like, "Oh, this is so right." And right, I remember showing you Dan's audition. You're like, "No, this is right. This is what I'm picturing."
Yeah, he was good,
and he was just so good, and he was so committed with the audition. Like he really didn't, how do I explain it? Like his audition tape was definitely kind of experimental. Like he made sure he looked disheveled, and he almost acted like the character immediately to show us how invested he was. And I think that was a big part of why we picked him, because I was like, well, he's already going this hard with the audition tape.
Dan Berkey does this kind of like mumble talk that's similar to the way Joaquin Phoenix sounds in The Master, where it kind of like sounds like this. And I think that kind of grabbed us a lot, because that's what he did in his audition. He was like in a robe and like had like, I think a glass of liquor or something, and just like like a 5 o'clock shadow, like looked really bad, and then just kind of like gave it to us. Like, and then we got other auditions, and the dude just read the script, and it was fine, like it was solid. And I think a lot of directors fail to look past the fact that like an actor is just good enough, and maybe it's just because some people just don't write challenging enough roles or whatever it is. But you just know when you see it, I think.
Yeah, and our role specifically, we like to. I mean, I definitely want to portray the human psyche and in all of its grotesque ways. So I tend to. It's like not uncommon for a role of mine to include masturbation, throwing up, crying, all that kind of stuff. So it has to be someone that would be interested in doing that kind of stuff. Like we've definitely gotten actors. There was a movie that we made called Weird Cupid. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I haven't seen that one.
But the character that's on my Vimeo as well. The character admits to having a 3-inch penis in the end, or like towards the end. And we got a lot of actors that were like, I would never say that. I'm sorry, I cannot take this role. And it's like, good. We don't want you to take this role. If you feel so threatened, your masculinity is so threatened that you can't say in a movie that you have a 3-inch penis. Like, firstly, I think it shows that you probably do have a 3-inch penis. and then secondly, we don't want to deal with somebody who is like all like getting hurt personally by the content. We want someone who's like, wow, that's so funny, or that's so interesting. I can't wait to say that I have a 3-inch penis.
You need somebody all in and be like, 3 inches is where it's at, and jump right in. Like, don't worry.
With the actor Frank Falo, we found that. I mean, and he was perfect. He was perfect for it.
Like even a guy like like a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson's characters, and a lot of like recently, I'd say, and a lot of like Safdie brothers characters, like all do like the same kind of stuff where they're like grotesque emotionally and stuff. And you see guys like Adam Sandler in both of those directors' cases, like and other great actors like doing like all that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you look up to those actors and you like them, then why wouldn't you want to do that yourself? Why wouldn't you want to challenge yourself in that way? Like, I think it's not about, because I'm not going to go see a movie that stars The Rock, because I'm sure it's just him, like, being a badass and exploding cars. No offense to The Rock. Like, I don't know.
No,
like,
he's going to be our president. He's going to be our president someday. So mad respect to The Rock.
Yeah, I'm sure The Rock gets plenty of love on podcasts. I think he gets enough love.
Right. Yeah, no, we love Paul Thomas Anderson and the Safdies. We look up to them a lot. I'd say the Master. Shea and I were 17, and we were so excited to go see the Master that we we were living on Long Island at the time. That's where we both grew up, and we rode the subway, took a train out to see the Master. And, it's like opening weekend, and it just blew us both away. Like we were into
it was screened on 70 millimeter film in this one theater. And we went there with Matt's sister and her boyfriend at the time, because we weren't really we were old enough, but they bought us street food, and they bought our tickets or something like that. I definitely remember them buying us street food. And took it into the theater. It was I forget what the name of the theater was. I think it was the Angelica. We saw it there, and it was a really good time. Like one of the best film experiences I've had. There was also the time where we saw Clockwork Orange in Denver screen on, I think it was 70 millimeter film also.
Yep.
And that was also a really good time, Yeah. So, just being inspired by stuff like that, I guess.
I really the film experiences and going to film. I had one thing I figured I mentioned. It was just such a cool event. Was at a Czech film festival at the Portland Art Museum, and just I had cleared out just a couple of days of being like, okay, I wouldn't even seen any of these films, and just this was a few years ago, and I was watching this really incredible film, and the actress she was from the Czech Republic. She spoke Czech. She was sitting in the row in front of me. So as I was watching her on the screen, I looked over and I was like, oh my gosh, it was just such a wild experience. I never had, I don't know, you have it in other environments, with a lot of entertainers, but it was really strange. And it was, I love that kind of disruption at times, of this kind of reality and reflection of reality going back to, so
some people go really hard on that.
What's that?
Sorry. I was just going to say, some people go really hard on that. Characters like Gaspar Noé, they go really intense with that.
To make their movie such a visceral experience.
And then that's the point of the movie almost.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna jump to just out of nowhere to Shea's work with CRONIES, New York. We got the track $1 Million Mutt. Here we go. CRONIES, Shea Glasheen. Of course, we're talking with Mathew, Kyle Levine. Off to the music right now for a few moments.
The man's entire body is already on. The minimal in the space of the highway cracking and concerned on. Joined in the subway like the tune of a wire. Buried in a tube, not a hearse but a heart. Died in the subway like the tune of a water. Buried in a tube, not a hearse but a heart. The more that he aged, just got better and better. Cracks in his teeth, he just glued them with butter. The more that he ran, just got deader and deader. The more that he ate, just got better and better. When everything is clean, time to make it up and take. Yeah, everything is clean, time to make it up and take. When everything is clean, time to make it up and take. Yeah, everything is clean, time to make it up and take. I'm healthy, I'm strong, man, and I'll receive messages who won't tell me when I am wrong. The more that he aged, just got better and better. The cracks in his teeth, he just glued them with butter. The more that he ran, just got deader and deader. The more that he ate, just got better and better. Got better and better. Cracks in his teeth, he just glued the butter. The more that he ran, just got deader and deader. The more that he ate, just got better and better.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. That's right up my alley, Shea.
Oh, thanks.
And I'd imagine up the alley around a lot of folks who listen to this show.
Yeah, that one just started as a jam between me and Jack one day. It just like during COVID when things kind of lightened up a little in the like at first, like I just went over his house and we jammed and like we did that. And like I recorded video of it just like on a camera, and so then like later we developed it into a song, and Brad added some lyrics. It's really dope. Cool how it developed.
Yeah,
it's a fucking incredible track.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for sending that over. Everybody check out Cronies, and recording here from Albany, Oregon. Hopefully, you get the Cronies sometime out of the way all over here on the left coast.
You guys got to do a West Coast tour one day.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. We're we're working up to it.
Yeah, well, the podcast supports all West Coast endeavors, and mad respect to the East Coast, being born and raised in Rhode Island, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So so made my way all the way out west, but deep in my DNA.
There's some New England in you.
Oh goodness!
Yeah,
yes,
really hardened.
I went out. The outdoors here is quite incredible. I actually just came in from a place, Cape Perpetua, and out into the woods and looking, just hiking. Did a 4-mile hike yesterday and made it back into civilization today. So a lot of wonderful stuff out here. So we've been talking about the film, about film and music. And Shea, you're going to be a little bit on the spot right now. I mean, Matt's already done.
Oh, let's go.
Matt's already done the big conceptual questions, and I don't know, he hit them out of the park already. So it's going to drop on.
I need him here, though. So
No problem. So the show, episode 163, 164, and we talk about a lot of like important
nice.
questions to artists. And one of the big ones I have is what is art? You're an artist, Shea. You're doing the music. You're working in film. You're doing all your things. What are you up to? What is art?
Yeah, what am I up to? Like right now, just doing a lot of like music projects, film projects. Let's see, I paint a lot. I like draw. Like I do a lot of like t-shirt designs for like my solo project. So I do a lot of like screen printing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just do a lot of. I mean, I guess like it's more whatever you call what's the word, like something where you can, it's adaptable, I guess. Like if you're an artist, it's you can kind of adapt to different art styles like more easily. Like Matt makes a lot of music, and Matt actually did like the score for Trusted Hands, and he did like he does a lot of the sound design for our movies, like just in post, like
Yeah.
because there's no one else there helping him with it, so he ends up just doing it himself. And like especially for like Miss Freelance, like there's a lot of cool tricks in sound design that
Oh,
we
yeah.
copied and used for Daddy's Wallet. So just like in terms of like what art is, I mean, I guess to me it's just like it's just it's a skill just like athleticism, I guess. Just being able to produce art, I guess. If you're good at one sport, it's likely you'll be good at another sport, and I guess art just works the same way to me.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Yeah.
good.
Well, yeah. Thank you. What do you think the role? What do you think what the role of art is? I've asked this of a bunch of artists over time, and sometimes the answer to the question be a little bit different with like political turmoil, like pandemic. What is the United States in 2022, 2023? So do you think the role of art? Like the role of art has changed in recent times, or it's just this is the latest type of things we're dealing with as humans, and it's just art is art. Do you think it's changed at all, the role of the art?
Not exactly, because I think like even like the Renaissance is like a response to I don't know. I don't know too much about the Renaissance, but I think it's like a response to the Dark Ages. Like
Plague and everything,
over.
right?
What was that?
Wasn't it like a response to the plague, the Black Plague or whatever?
Yeah, stuff like that. Just like
I'm wrong.
artistic
I'm gonna sound like
revolutions.
an idiot.
I don't know. Like maybe if I can go like a little less further back. I mean, like I'm a big fan of Rage Against the Machine, so like
Yeah.
obviously they have like a lot of political commentary in their music, and
Yeah.
I think it's done right. I think a lot of times like it's a means for people to get like more attention on their music, and it's not necessarily like something new or something like super poetic. But it's great that people want to use that, as a platform to promote what they want to promote. Like everybody can do what they want, I guess. Yeah, it's just what you make of it. I don't go super like into that with my own art. I mean, I think like in a lot of ways things are implied, just like in the way I feel about things. Like, but yeah, it's just like again, it's just like another form of expression. Of course, there's a part of me that like feels a certain way about certain issues politically, or just like personal issues in my life, and then those obviously come out in art. It's just it's just like how I as a person reflect on my viewpoint of the world more, more on a subconscious level. Like on a conscious level, I'm just like having fun. I'm playing a guitar or whatever.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me, but
Express
sure.
yourself.
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, it's an expression of like who you are and everything that's happened to you, I guess.
If you do it right.
Yeah.
I feel like Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask you, Matt. Like one of the things as I was asking the question just popped into my head as far as with the films is that there tends to be this distinct theme of distress or isolation for an individual dealing with a situation. Seems to be very focused on a smaller number of characters and interiors. And was any of that? I mean, that's part of some of the things I've seen in your work. Was any of that part of the result of the pandemic, or any constraints that you had right there? As far as somebody's in the house, they're in the house. It's a setting. It's a closed setting. There isn't the external world seems far at times. Has that been part of it, Matt?
I guess it's got to be. When I'm writing it, I definitely don't think about that. I'm not like, I got to make a pandemic movie. We know some directors who do things like that. Like they're like, oh, the pandemic, I got to make a movie that comments on the pandemic.
Yeah.
For posterity. And that's, like having a political motive behind your movie is an interesting thing to do. And I think I've seen movies where I like when that's done, but I definitely just kind of write what I think would be interesting. And I normally think about the character first. But normally, to some greater extent, the character is always a reflection of me, or someone that is close to me, or just a general sense of the people that are around me. And I start there, and then I think what we were saying before, where like what is art and what does it cause change, or what does it reflect, and all that stuff. I think if you do art for the right reasons, not to say that there's one right reason over another. But, if you're doing it for, if you're making something that's like a piece of you, no matter what you think you're writing about, you're going to end up writing about yourself and how you view the world. And it's going to be a little model of your own experience. So like if the pandemic is going on, I guess I'm just trying to say that, of course, that's going to come through. Like if I have to be inside for a prolonged period of time, I'm sure the movies are going to start, having more interiors or being more about someone who's alone inside or whatever. But I still feel like the feeling of isolation and loneliness goes beyond the pandemic. I feel like people feel that way, no matter what's going on. So, and I think that's always something.
Yeah, just like in actuality, though, like the pandemic actually does make it harder to make bigger settings and have a bunch of like actors and stuff. And it's cheaper to have less actors in one space. So, I mean, on the surface, there's like practical reasons why we do that. But then again, it results from the pandemic. It's interesting how like the pandemic causes us to have to move into more like isolated spaces, especially like last year, But it's just what it had to be. It could, but it's about that because that's what it had to be.
Right. But I think I've always been interested in that because looking back at the movies before the pandemic, like Miss Freelance or like Gloss or Megan, it's like I often just want to, look into. I think a character when they're alone, it kind of shows them at their most vulnerable, which I just think is always a fascinating concept. Shea and I we joke all the time, like when we meet somebody and they're like really all together and they're like, "Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you." Blah blah blah. And then they walk away. We always joke that then they go home and like they beat their wife or whatever, and then they sob in the corner and
We just finished working for a client. It was like so nice all day, and then we, everything was going so well, and then we just had this joke because like someone left a pickle jar open. That imagine if he just like took the pickle jar and freaked out and like threw it across the room or something. There was like 15-year-old kids of this reality show too. It was like 17 of them. It was like imagine he just lost his temper in front of all these kids. It's just like I think there's just like a sadistic part of us that thinks it would be just so funny if something like that happened right in front of us. Like it's such a shock. That's I think in a way it inspires the writing of movies sometimes because we're like, how funny would that be? And then later we're like, imagine something like that in a movie.
Right.
Well, and you're not making like comfort movies unless there's comfort in like a connection to what somebody's feeling and being like, oh my gosh, I felt that, now I feel it.
I shouldn't be the guy who makes the comfort movie. I would not be good at it. And I'm so glad that there are guys who are good at it. We need every genre for film to be, respected by everybody or appreciated by everybody.
Right. It's just one of those voyeuristic things where it's like you meet somebody and then you wonder like, well, what is that guy really like? I'll never know. And then I think a movie kind of gives you that power of like, whatever the character may be, like for Daddy's Wallet, it's like this, rich retired executive guy, and it's like, okay, but what's really going on with him underneath? And I think that's also where the ideas come from too. Cause I remember I was living in Brooklyn and I saw like an old guy with a very young, like 20-year-old looking girl, and she's like, really buttering him up and like kissing his cheek and has her arms around him and all that stuff. And I'm like, what's really going on here? Like is it, I don't imagine that this guy is just like completely happy about his life all the time, given, even though that's what he might want to portray. I think we all have like an inner darkness, or at least, maybe, that's just what I assume. Maybe they're perfectly happy, normal people, but I assume.
I do. I'm not gonna shy away. Yeah. Right. What is that? And what's?
It's interesting.
There's a story there, right?
Right. There's always a story and a background to someone's personal darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, I love when the stories come out about those talk show hosts like James Corden or like Ellen, where they're just like so abusive, like it turns out. Like, would you think those people who are like having to put on those kinds of faces every night, like, do you think they're not gonna like snap, one day?
Yeah.
And then it's just so funny when that happens. Like, we love that.
Yeah,
we just think it's funny and juicy and whatever. It's People magazine type shit.
We talk all the time about making a movie about some Ellen like talk show host, and like the movie opens where she's all polite and happy and chipper on the show, and then we cut to backstage and we see the real her.
Yeah. Well, and I think film gives a unique opportunity to kind of like peek in, and I definitely see how you do that. Shea, I wanted to ask, just so we don't forget and you let people know where to go. I mean, there's I saw you had a T-shirt for the band, like the band's music, like where. Yeah, like where do folks go? You on Bandcamp? Do they look for a webpage to find the Cronies?
Okay, I'll just throw it out there. Cronies is on Bandcamp. We're on all streaming. And we're on Label of Goods, which is working on physical copies, tapes, stuff like that. We're on Cruel Nature Records, which I think our tapes sold out on those. I have some solo music on Cruel Nature Records, which I'll just give a shout out to because they're great. Steve is great. Awesome. They're from the UK. Label of Goods also, Logan from that record label is amazing. He does great work, and it's my favorite label.
Yeah.
And then Cronies, The Real Codington Factory, they're all on streaming. Bandcamp, obviously just type it in. Cronies New York City, NYC or whatever would be an easy way to find it. And then the vinyl prints were done by Reptilian Records. This is kind of a new development, but the records are printed and they're going to get sold at this festival somewhere in Texas. I forget what it's called. But so shout out to those three record labels: Label of Goods, Reptilian Records, and Cruel Nature Records. Label of Goods and Cruel Nature also have some of my solo music, which there should be some tapes left of Real Codington Factory on both of those labels. So we're all over physical copies, merch, all that kind of stuff. It's whatever you want, if you like our stuff, come hang out.
Yeah, we definitely want to lead people to it as a part of the big part of the show is kind of the community of interacting with, the tangible and the digital art and the cassette tapes and
it's nice to just be kind of available everywhere. Even for people who what if there's someone who only plays music by tape, tape, we have tape, it's great. It's just it's good to be available, I think, as a musician. I think that's your strongest ally, these days in the music scene is just putting yourself out there on YouTube or whatever, or
you
just
can be found
online. Just being able to be found anywhere, putting your records or physical copies in stores or whatever. There's just so many different ways.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to check with Matt in just a moment, make sure we talked about a lot of his work and where to find things, but hey, Shea, we do have the one small but monstrous question of which we do have to ask, which is the titular part of the show is
naturally,
why the heck is there something rather than nothing, Shea? I think Matt didn't fully resolve that mystery that we've been searching for all the time.
Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
He didn't fully resolve it. He would have.
I'm sorry.
So, wait, your question is why is there something rather than nothing? So we're based on the premise that there is something rather than nothing.
Yeah,
For
which
saying
you
that.
can attack. Which you can attack as well.
Can I attack that?
You
Or is
can. You can. You are
Okay.
actively encouraged to do so.
maybe I won't. I don't know if I want to. I think I agree that there's something rather than nothing. Imagine just not making any art. Imagine not making anything. Just
Yeah.
make something, even if you're not gonna like throw it out there on like just keep making art. If you're not gonna do it, you'll never get better. Like
Yeah.
That's what I do with my solo music. Is like there's some stuff on Spotify, but there's a lot more on Bandcamp and just stuff that I haven't released that I just there's hundreds of tracks of just like me recording every song. It's like, it's just, it's good exercise. It's like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you run on again, going back to the athleticism thing, it's like, why wouldn't you run on the treadmill every day if you wanted to be athletic? Like, why not do something? Why not do something rather than not something? You know what I mean?
Go.
That's good. That's good.
There's this.
You know?
There's
I'm going to make my own podcast. It's going to be called Something Rather Than Not Something.
Hey,
and we're going to be competing.
I don't mind the competition. The competition in the realm that we're in is a very particular realm that I'm not sure is populated by a ton of folks, but we can go to that. Yeah.
I do feel like not competitive, but almost like, in a good way, influenced by some of the musicians around me that I think are really good, or like even Matt as a filmmaker, like inspires me a lot as a musician, just any good artist I meet. And it's like, it's good to be in like a healthy competition, almost like feeling like, oh, that's a really cool passage by that band. Like, imagine if I had something like that in my music, but like different or this way or that way. Like, there's definitely a lot of like, admitted like copycat in my music. Like you listen to like even my score in movies, it'll just, it's not like it's its own thing. It sounds like, it's an amalgamation of stuff that I like. And, most of what I'm influenced by are the people around me. And, I like bands that are famous. Like I like Rage Against the Machine and Nirvana, System and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But then there's, I think my favorite bands actually are like my friends and people like from the music scene in New York. And some of my favorite filmmakers are, other than, famous guys like Safdie brothers, like, Matt, I would say, his films actually make me feel something.
Yeah.
Rather than not something.
That's good.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, I wanted to make sure. I mean, we talked about your films and such. I want to make sure we don't miss anything as far as I don't know if there's the film fest or where to look. I had mentioned to folks. I know you've had some reviews come out. Trusted Hands. I'll be doing that as well. But just
can't
anything
wait to see that. I'm
we
so
missed.
thankful that you're going to review Trusted Hands. That's so nice.
Well, I like the opportunity too, and I got to tell you guys. I mean, before I'll open up to you, Matt. Make sure we don't miss anything. But I think that for me, the podcast and being able to have both of you on is that there is a piece where I think within a year or two, you're going to be, people are going to see your film in a more massive way, and they're going to know. And so it's like, I feel like a privilege just being able to talk with you and to be able to talk and write and review, because there's something going on different from your films, because that's why I want to talk to you. So I think all that's going to happen. And I want folks to get excited and to see the great stuff you're creating. All right.
True faith.
Matt, anything I missed, Matt?
That is so nice, Ken. Yeah, you brightened my day with that one. Appreciate it. Yeah, so Daddy's Wallet is screening in Manhattan on the 18th. That's next Friday. And you can get tickets on the BoweryFilmFestival.com. It's the Bowery Film Festival 2022 selection. The folks behind the Bowery Film Festival, they've actually done like a bunch of smaller festivals throughout the city, and they do a couple, I think, every few months or whatever. But the Bowery Film Festival is like their big one. So it's kind of it's a cool achievement to be honored and selected for that one, especially for Daddy's Wallet, which I think because of the pandemic had an issue getting screened. Like we got into festivals and then they would be like online screenings. Yeah. So this will be Daddy's Wallet's first time.
Canceled a lot.
Yeah. So this is going to be the first time that Daddy's Wallet screens in a real movie theater, which is something I really am excited to see.
Awesome.
And then as far as Trusted
awesome
Hands
to hear.
goes, yeah, as far as Trusted Hands and in any of the other short films that we've made, those can just be found on my Vimeo, and you can get there via the link in my bio on Instagram.
Yeah, thanks so much. I just recently connected to film as quite some time ago, maybe about 2.5 years ago. I had an activist. Her name's Ana Del Rocio, and she's starring in a film that was made called Mother of Color. Actually, just debuted in Tacoma about 3 weeks ago, and its Portland debut at the Hollywood Theater was
cool.
Friday. And so I think it's really fascinating for me, like in being able to talk about it and me trying to figure out on my side of like when a film's made, how is it seen? Where does it show up? Where's the festival?
Right.
How do people write about it? So I'm learning a lot on that too, but it's also been quite a pleasure to see artists that I've interacted with and then see that the film had the Portland premiere on Friday. So really exciting to see the work that you both do. And just so everybody knows, we're going to have a track that's going to be at the end of this from the Real Codington Factory called The Booth. Shea, anything you want to say about the track that will lead us out?
Yeah, just pass the booth. And thanks for having us.
Yeah. Guys,
Thanks
great
so much,
pleasure.
man.
Everybody, yeah, definitely check out we'll have it in the show notes, a lot of different places to find sound and video from Matt and Shea. And I'm going to hit up my folks. I don't know a ton of people in New York, but there are a good 10 to 20 people that I feel I can just tell them that they're supposed to be going to do something and to see a good film. So I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be doing that with them. So everybody, we got the booth taking us out. And I want to thank you guys both for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
I hear something. Fuck, it's Tyreek. What are we gonna do?
When I was getting it taken from my family's name on it. When I was digging that grave, I made my candle to quays on it. When I was naming my kids, I remember to put that new language on it. When I was getting it taken from my family's name on it. When I was shaking his head, I remember to put it in a grip on it. When I was teaching that kids, I remember to show the new brand on it. When I was giving out the kids, I said I don't see your name on it. When I was shaking his head, I remember to put it in a grip on it. When I was getting it taken from my family's name on it. When I was digging that grave, there was my candle to graze on it. When I was taping that kids, I remember to put that new language on it. When I was getting it taken from my family's name on it. When I was shaking his head, I remember to put it in a grip on it. When I was teaching the kids, I remember to put that new brand on it. When I was giving out the cash, I said I don't see your name on it. When I was shaking his head, I remember to put it in a grip on it.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.